Hello and welcome back to The Witch's Brew. I am your host, Amanda, and our witchy topic for the week is signs from the universe, which I feel like is less witchy and more spiritual, but we're going to go with it. I do promise that I wear other clothes if you're watching this on the YouTube channel. Um, I am batch recording, which I know I've mentioned before, so oftentimes I will just record a bunch of episodes back to back to back during nap time. So for me, it is still the same day that I recorded the previous episode. And I know for you, you are consuming this at a different time, but I promise I do have other clips. However, pregnancy has also greatly diminished my wardrobe. But we get to meet little guy soon. So, well, I guess in your time it would be soon. In my time, it's still 4 months away. Anyway, let's talk about signs from the universe. um, People often will ask me as a psychic medium, what are some signs that my spirit team is sending me? How do I know I'm on the right path or on the right track? Or they'll ask me things like, I've been seeing this a lot. Like, I've been seeing butterflies a lot. Which, by the way, I saw a monarch butterfly today. First time I've seen one like in person in the wild in years, and it was just amazing. Anyway, they'll ask me like, I've been seeing a butterfly, what does this mean? And the answer is it is different for everybody. But let's talk about some signs from the universe, some signs that I'm using the term universe because everyone has a different belief system, everyone has a different practice. However, that they could also be from a deity, from a saint, an ancestor, a past loved one. It could be from one of your spirit guides or a guardian angel. And part of it is kind of up to you to determine because, again, it's such a personal experience. However, if it's really bugging you and you can't figure it out, book in with a psychic that specializes in that. Um, Something that is a sign for me and means something specific for me could mean something very different for you. So we'll talk about the types of signs. I'll give you examples of what I've experienced. And hopefully that brings you a little bit more clarity on some of the things you may be experiencing. First up, and probably the most common that I see, it is actually 212 as I'm saying this right now. Speaking of it, is angel numbers. And that was just 424 on my timer. Crazy. Angel numbers are, they can really be a variety of things. I just happen to have this sticker. They can be repeating numbers, so 222. They can be mirrored numbers, so 212. It's also just 444 on my timer as I said that. They can be a number that means something specific to you. One of my very specific numbers that means something to me, but probably wouldn't mean anything to anybody else, is the number 34 or reversed 43. That's just one that catches my eye. I think it has something to do with when I'm 34 or the year 2034. I guess we'll find out in 2 years when I'm 34. What I recommend is, if it's not something specific to you, like some people will get their birthday. My mom gets my dad's birthday a lot, which is 10/29. She also gets her birthday a lot, which is 9/13. I recommend, if you're really not sure what it is, just Google it. Or another really cool thing about the spirits is that they are very adaptable. And if you sit down and have a chat with them and say, here's what it means when I see repeating ones, here's what it means when I see repeating twos, etc., 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 they will adapt and they will show you things accordingly. However, if you don't want to do that, or if you're just curious, or you don't have time to do that, Google it. So like, it was just 6:44 on my timer. So I could Google 6:44 angel number, and a bunch of stuff is going to pop up. Obviously, not everything is going to resonate. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. All right. Next up is signs in nature. Spirits are very, 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 very good about using signs in nature. The amount of dragonflies that I have seen in the last week is insane. I still haven't quite figured out who the dragonflies are yet. I just haven't had time. But I know someone is trying to reach out to me. Earlier, I was having a conversation with my editor, Chris, and they said that they've been seeing snakes a lot. They put 2 and 2 together, that it was actually Loki reaching out to them. Meanwhile, I was seeing snakes a couple weeks ago, and I just kind of wrote it off as Lilith. So, which she has also used snakes for me before. Not to mention, this is the year of the snake that we are currently in 2025. So a lot of change, a lot of transformation. You can see that reflected in the planets. You can see that reflected in what's happening all around us in our country and in other places. I'm sure you are also experiencing a lot of change in your life. So sometimes, again, use your own intuition. Sorry, I still have the crystals on here on my desk from last week's episode. Use your own intuition, but it could be a sign that a specific spirit is reaching out to you. It could also mean whatever that animal means. All right. If you are unsure, or if you're just curious, chances are, if you see a hawk and you think, oh, I wonder what a hawk means, that's the spirit's way of telling you to look it up. And you can just Google hawk spiritual meaning. Take what resonates and leave what doesn't. So that's a lot about animals. It could also mean be bugs or insects, which I did mention dragonflies. I've been seeing a lot of spiders lately. I've been getting a lot of spider imagery. I literally walked through a giant spider web yesterday. Not my favorite. But that's the spirits trying to reach out to me and tell me something. Now, for me, again, spiders mean specific deities. However, my main spirit guide, Catherine, shout out to her, love her. She has been using spiders and spider webs as imagery of building something. And it's when the spider is building its web, it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of effort on the spider's part. But when the spider web is done and the spider is called it complete, they've actually built something very grand for themselves. And that's what she has been using for me to talk about this period in my life, which resonates with me, but might not resonate with you. It could also be flowers. I know that if I start noticing roses a lot, it's Aphrodite reaching out to me. If I start seeing lavender a lot, or if I start feeling called to use more lavender, that's a sign to me that I need to calm down and generally stop overthinking. Spirits also use dreams in order to communicate with you. And we talked a little bit, I touched on it in last week's crystal episode. If you are a heavy dreamer, so like I am, but my editor is not, does not remember any of their dreams when they wake up. I have extremely vivid dreams. I have spirits come to me in my dreams. And someone asked me during a reading, just last week, I think it was, if you see someone that is passed on in your dream, is that a visitation? You may feel differently. I would say yes, because I have experienced exactly that. I know that when my dad shows up in a dream, that's him stopping in to say hi. Sometimes he has something to tell me, sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes it's literally just him letting me know that he's around. Now, I've also had the gods and goddesses show up in my dreams, which can be a little intense. I'm not even going to lie to you. Last week, both Aphrodite and Hecate showed up in my dream, and upon waking, I have remembered that, and I scheduled time to sit down and talk with each of them in turn. And they each had a message with me, or a message for me. Dreams can also tell you things about what is to come. They have guidance to offer. Sometimes the dreams are just weird to be weird. However, especially in this season where we have Pluto in a very spiritual sign, we have Uranus in a very chatty sign, the spirits are likely going to be reaching out a lot more. And part of that is likely going to be through your dreams. I personally have started keeping a dream journal, and it has helped immensely. And it has clarified some questions that I have had about things that are coming up. You can also ask for signs in your dreams. So there's that. Next up is persistent thoughts. That is another way that spirits or the universe can communicate with you. And next week, we're actually going to talk about your spirit team. Who are they? What are they? And how do you work with them? So we'll talk about that next week. So if you are listening or seeing this episode and you're like, oh, wow, I've experienced a lot of those things, maybe I should start reaching out. Next week's episode will hopefully answer a lot of your questions. So anyway, we're talking about persistent thoughts. So if you cannot get something out of your mind, that's generally the spirits trying to tell you something. I have had people come to me in readings, and I'll start talking about how it's time to like pursue your passion. It's time to start saying yes to yourself and doing blah, 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 blah. And they're like, oh, that's so weird that you mentioned that, because I just can't stop thinking about doing blah, 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 these things. Like, well, that's the universe telling you to go do it. So go do it. However, this can also manifest in like food or like imagery. And I'll talk about what I mean in a minute. I will say I give offerings to the spirits that I work with every single day. However, recently, all right, and by the way, these are offerings in the form of food. All right, so clarify that. Recently, I have been really, really wanting Cheez-Its, which is weird because in this pregnancy so far, like Cheez-Its just leave a weird aftertaste in my mouth. So I don't really want Cheez-Its. But the other day, I just could not stop thinking about Cheez-Its. And it sounds so strange, but I was asking them, the spirits, who likes Cheez-Its, and Hermes popped up. I do a lot of work with Hermes. He's actually like one of my like patron gods. Love Hermes. It turns out he was the one that wanted Cheez-Its. So I did eat a bunch of Cheez-Its, but I also left out a bowl for him. And I also told him he can help himself to the Cheez-Its whenever he wants. And he seems to be a lot happier, and I don't have the weird aftertaste of Cheez-Its in my mouth. Which again is strange because typically non-pregnant Amanda loves Cheez-Its. However, this can also be like if you cannot stop thinking, and this kind of goes into the next one, which is images coming into your mind. So like if you cannot get the image of a horse out of your brain, or if every time you open social media, a horse shows up randomly, that is someone in the spirit realm trying to reach out to you. And again, you can just simply Google spiritual meaning of a horse and call it a day. Or it could be someone specific. It's Artemis. That's why I've been thinking about horses a lot. Artemis. Yeah, that makes sense. Next, we have songs, passages, or quotes that oddly fit your life and what you are going through. I'm trying to think of a really... Okay, I'll use that one. When my dad passed in 2017, there was about a month and a half of time where every single time I turned my car on, Dancing Queen was playing by ABBA. Now, why Dancing Queen by ABBA? Why does that relate to my dad? That was one of his favorite songs. And I will always, always, always associate that song with him. So that was him letting me know that he was still around. And now every time Dancing Queen comes on, I know that's him just saying hi. However, if you're going through something and like you are asking for signs from the universe, and every song that comes up on shuffle or that you hear on Instagram or TikTok or something, if it relates to your life, that's a sign from the universe. And last but not least, this is one that they added. By they, I mean the spirits. And that's flashing lights. Flashing lights are often a sign, not always, but often a sign from the spirit world. Especially, that makes sense too. Also, if your devices start dying really quickly, like randomly, like it's a random Tuesday and all of a sudden, like your laptop goes from 100% charged to 20%, and it's only been like 45 minutes and you haven't really been doing anything out of the ordinary. Or, and this has happened a couple times to me on the YouTube channel, like if you're, actually I think it happened during the Aphrodite episode too. If you're recording something or you're doing something on your phone and all of a sudden your phone shuts off, or your phone starts acting really slow or really funky. Granted, it could be a Wi-Fi issue. However, if you notice it happening at random intervals and random points of time, that's probably a spirit trying to reach out to you. There was a period of time where, this was, I think, in late January, early February of this year, as I was dropping my son off to my mother-in-law's for the day, I would see flashing lights just everywhere. Sometimes it was something wrong with like a signal. Sometimes it was a street lamp that would just keep flickering. Oftentimes when I'm here working, whether I'm doing readings or not, this light that I have right here will start flickering. I was doing a reading the other day, and there's also another lamp over there, and it kept flickering. This one was fine, but that one kept flickering. I was doing spell work a couple months ago, and there's a light over there, and all of a sudden the light just went out. I haven't replaced the bulb because I just don't feel like it. But it was working for a little while. I just saw a shadow over there. Hey. But yeah, it was working for a little while. Like I turned it off and I turned it back on again and it came on. And it's like dead now. So spirits love to mess with electronics. But anyway, those are some signs from the universe. I hope you found that helpful. I hope that brought at least a little bit of clarity to something. I know that it's also not fun to hear from a medium that I'm like, well, these signs also, like what they mean kind of depends on you and what you're going through at the time. But that is the truth. So I love you so much. I really do hope that this helped you. And I will see you again next week to talk about spirit teams. Bye.